Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. What an honor to be with these distinguished people, but even more of an honor to be with what feels like the only real New Yorkers in the city today. And sometimes it feels like this community are the last Americans as well. So thank you for being here. I know it's a happy day and we're supposed to talk about love and light, but I have some sad things I need to say first. Many of you know, can you hear me all the way in the back? I see thousands of people, media, so don't say there aren't, right? Thousands. So I wrote an essay and a book 12 years ago that said that there is a map to tyranny and that tyrants always do the same 10 things. They always take the same 10 steps. We've seen that step after step after step escalating in the last 2 years, and now I cannot believe, but I also do believe because I warned you that I'm standing in a city in which I can't even go indoors with my children to have a meal, a city in which the first responders, our police, our firefighters, our healthcare workers are facing illegal violations of their bodily integrity that history will look back on and say, this is a crime of national and global proportions. Everything about the medical mandates is a crime. I'm not being rhetorical. It's against the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to divide people the way we're divided in this city. It's against the Nuremberg Code to experiment on human beings medically against their will. It's against the Americans with Disabilities Act that I even have to disclose my medical status to anyone. It's crime after crime, and the courts are starting to say so, but we need you to keep speaking up and reminding us what it means to be Americans and to uphold the rule of law and the Constitution. Now I want to say, I have my tissue, I have to say some very painful things. I want to talk about the bodies of first responders, all right? And I'm speaking as the proud wife of a U.S. Army veteran. Thank you. I've talked my whole career about how the bodies of women have been colonized and politicized. Well, now it's the bodies of first responders, our heroes, that are being colonized and politicized against their will. There's a lot of sentimentality and cliches that people use when they're talking about the courage of first responders. And I hear it all the time as the wife of a veteran. Thank you for your service. The police of this city, the firefighters of this city, the healthcare workers have been called heroes, as they should be. But now this city is abusing them and committing crimes against their bodies, coercing them. You heard this firefighter. Every single first responder is being victimized and violence is being enacted against them by illegal mandates. I want to tell just a few quick stories about first responders, okay? Because they are a unique kind of human being, and all of our civil society depends upon them. And what I mean by that, while I'm talking about the bodies of first responders, is that every single day, first responders, Army, soldiers, Navy, nurses, doctors in the front lines, firefighters, police, wake up and go into harm's way. Right now, they put their bodies on the line. They keep us safe. Who does that? The first time I thought about this, I was a very young woman. I was with 3 affluent educated, healthy young men. It was nighttime in Baltimore, and I looked down a dark alley, and a man was stabbing a woman, and she was holding up her hands, but she was absolutely defenseless. I ran halfway down that alley, and I was yelling for him to stop, but I was too scared to run all the way down. I thought the men with me would run with me to protect a defenseless woman who was being stabbed by a man, but they didn't. They stayed where they were because I'm not going to say what they are, but also because they subcontracted out the job of being courageous to other people, the police, to other men, the police and the emergency medical workers. They're the ones who ran down the alley. They're the ones who saved that woman. They're the ones who stuck up for her and her safety. She was poor, she was defenseless, she was all kinds of things that society rolls right over. The police put their bodies in harm's way to stand up for that defenseless woman, and my own peers didn't. The second time I thought about this was, pardon me, when I was sent a package during the anthrax scare with white powder. This was happening to a lot of people at that time. I was sent right away to a hazmat room at St. Vincent's Hospital. It was too dangerous till they tested it for even my family to go in there. Who walked in to check on me? Who walked in to see that I was okay? A healthcare worker in a hazmat suit. I don't even know that person's name. He put his body in harm's way to make sure that I was okay, to give me my best chance of being fine. The last thing I want to talk about, and I have permission, or the second to last thing, is the body of my husband, a veteran. And he is not alone. Every single day he is in pain. His shoulder hurts, his knees hurt from jumping out of planes in dangerous situations. He has a scar near his heart from an explosion in a dangerous area overseas that I can't name, I don't even know what it is, where a fellow soldier's bone fragment pierced his body so close to his heart that it's a miracle that he didn't die as well. He never complains. He's in pain all the time. He never complains. He is not alone. I now know, now that I've been exiled from the liberal elite gatekeepers of New York City because I stand with actual Americans. Thank you, but let me finish. He is so typical of police, of firefighters, of healthcare workers, of other veterans and soldiers and active duty military. They face danger and harm and pain every day, and they do not complain. But the bodies of first responders already are stressed. They deal with PTSD. They deal with Gulf War syndrome. They deal with Agent Orange, depending on their age in the combat. Every day, the people in this city, the police and firefighters in the city deal with smoke inhalation. You know, at 9/11, they ran toward toxic chemicals. I could go on and on, but these people who risk their health and well-being for us every day, now we're gonna say, take this experimental vaccine, this experimental gene therapy. No one knows what it will do to you, but we are going to break your will to make you comply. Their bodies are already too much at our service. We accept their sacrifice. I want to say one last thing about love. When they do this for us out of the highest love human beings can have for other humans. There is no greater love than to put yourself in harm's way as our police, our firefighters, our Army soldiers, our veterans do, Navy, Air Force, and healthcare workers. And I am disgusted with how my own people, the liberal elite, have demonized the people who keep us safe and marginalized them and attacked them and smeared them. It is shameful. And I also think that these forced mandates for these first responders are a way to break that love that creates our peaceful, free, civil society and keeps us safe. Because I will tell you, as the author of The End of America, who called it right every single time in the March to Tyranny, if you don't have these men and women in uniform in blue, you know who you have? You have the military, or another country's military, or you have federal peace officers. These are the people's peace officers. They are part of a peaceful civil society, and we lose our democracy when we lose our police, our army that responds to civilian command, our firefighters. God knows what happens to us without them, our healthcare workers. The last thing I want to say is this. Have you all heard me? This is so important. Like, I am a rape survivor. You know, who do you call when you've been raped? You call the police. If you're a single mom, I was a single mom with little kids, and no man protecting me for years. I was across the street from Squad 18 firefighters. My kids and I felt safe because the firefighters were there. And we knew they would come help us if we were ever in trouble. These are the people who make our democracy possible, along with us, we the people, peacefully expressing our own views. The last thing I want to tell you about is Manny Mojica. And some of you may know his name. He was a young man, a firefighter in Squad 18. Beautiful, full of life, laughing, super tall young man, his whole life ahead of him. The kids used to love watching the fire trucks. Little children are fascinated with firefighters, and Manny Mojica and his colleagues used to lift up lucky children into the cab of the truck, and they even let my little son at that time try on the hat, and one magical day, my son got to pull the horn. Manny Mojica had his whole life ahead of him. On 9/11, he ran toward danger when all the rest of us were trying to get away. Manny Mojica's name is now on a plaque outside of Squad 18. I don't know his family, but they don't get to watch their son grow up and marry and have children and have a life, because he gave his life for us here New Yorkers, without a thought. And that's what our first responders do day after day. And so to coerce this community is to destroy, besmirch the memory of what someone like Manny Mojica did in putting our kids and our safety in front of his own. And this is shameful. It's not worthy of a great city. It's not worthy of a great nation. And someday people are going to look back on this time and what is being done to us, and they're going to say this was one of the darkest moments in American history. I will just end, excuse me, by saying that thank you. No, I'm so upset. I cannot believe I'm witnessing this in my beautiful city.
We love you.
Thank you. Well,
We're here with you.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, Walt Whitman wrote a beautiful poem about a firefighter being taken from the rubble by his peers, by his comrades, and it ended with a scene of a dying general in war, and the general was saying to the people who are trying to help him, mind not me, mind the entrenchments. Because even as he was dying, that soldier put his nation first and other people first. We are called at this moment in history, we are called to remember this whole city, a city that has a great city, a once great city, I hope again in the future a great city. It has survived a time of slavery. It has survived the Civil War. It has survived Jim Crow laws across the country and formal segregation. We had just since 1964 to have equality in the city by law. And now when I go to Harlem, I have to sit outside. When I go downtown to Soho, I have to sit outside. The whole city has gone along with resegregating society in a way that would shame the heroes of integration and inclusion. For hundreds of years, people have fled other countries, leaving their tyranny behind to come to this city. It wasn't perfect, God knows, but it was freer than where they were fleeing from. And now it is one of the least free cities in this nation. Shame, shame on the gatekeepers of this city. Shame on them. Shameful. I will end with hope. We're called, it's an extraordinary moment, and you're called to be like the generation of 1776. You're called to remember. I don't see this as a revolution that's new. I don't even see it as a revolution. You are not marginal. You are simply remembering what it means to be a patriot and an American and a free citizen of the United States of America. God bless America.